come a long way these past 5.5 years. Our challenges are nowhere near as daunting as they were back then. But imagine how much farther along our economy would be, how much stronger our country would be, if Congress would just do its job. I'll never stop trying to work with both parties to get things moving faster for the middle class and everybody who's working to get into the middle class.
Welcome back to MidPoint. Army veteran and the man who insists that behind every political speech there are real people seeking to make every day a little better in tough times. Gary Pollard joins us. Gary, the letter that you wrote to the president was titled One American's Perspective. And you are very thankful to what the president has done, what Congress has done with the Veteran Rehabilitation Assistance Program. But where is the government, in your opinion, failing to deliver on the due to their military veterans?
Well, I think that the government has dropped the ball in a sense of helping soldiers reacclimate themselves to society. The military is a subculture within itself, and once you leave that subculture and come back into the civilian population, there is a transition period there. And sometimes some soldiers have a sense of struggling because the military structure is so regimented. Everything is pretty much regimented for you when you get out on the civilian side. Sometimes as a veteran, you feel as if that, it's almost as if once you walk out the door is shut behind you and there's no one to turn back to help you out. So I think the government needs to do, and the powers that be, whomever the administration is, needs to understand that and help the veterans through that process.
I got about 1:30 left here. You're in the Maryland area. Veterans in the Maryland system facing the 4th longest wait in the nation to schedule a first-time visit with a primary care doctor. Veterans in Maryland waiting an average of 80 days to make an initial appointment. How insulting is that to you and to other veterans, men and women that you know, that you serve your country and have to come back and be put through this ringer in order to get medical care?
I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Thomas Jefferson who was quoted as saying that you can judge a nation by the way they treat their veterans. It's sad to think that we as veterans lay our life on the line, sometimes literally laying our lives and limbs on the line, and to have to wait 80 days just to see someone. I think it's sad. I think it's unfair, and I think it's just a disrespect to the men and women who have served this great nation of ours.
Do you or do you know people who suffer because they don't get in fast enough to see the VA doctors?
I do. Actually, I work with a guy who he left the military, and he says that he has to get some type of surgery done, and he has to wait at least 15 days before he can go in and have an appointment. And it's just, it's times like that and situations like that that are unfortunate and sad, and because of it, people suffer.
Gary, I want to thank you very much. The letter was called One American's Perspective. It's a pleasure to speak to a veteran. We thank you for your service very much. I hope we get a chance to speak again, and good luck.
Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. We turn now to the coming midterm elections. We've talked about the government and what they need to do. Well, these midterm elections, far too often, what you see and hear is not always indicative of the story. Take, for instance, many of the stories we hear about what's happening at the VA. For instance, when opposing candidates join forces and the end result is not exactly as one of them had planned. That is in this countdown to the midterms with the case in Alaska.
The gubernatorial race in Alaska started out as you might expect. There was a Republican and a Democrat. Both easily won their primaries and were set to square off on the campaign trail, with incumbent Sean Parnell predicted to slide right back in for a second term. But now that Election Day is nearly here, that suddenly isn't the case anymore. Not long after the August primaries, Alaska's Democratic Party voted to reject their candidate, Brian Malat. They didn't kick him to the curb. Instead, they relegated him to run as lieutenant governor to independent Bill Walker. Republicans didn't waste any time challenging the newly formed ticket by filing a lawsuit against state election officials for allowing this unusual merger to happen. Alaska's Supreme Court upheld the ticket. The shakeup raised a few eyebrows, considering a year prior, the Alaska Democratic Party unanimously voted to back Malat for governor. However, recent polls show that the move may pay off. Walker is building support and is now in a comfortable lead over Parnell. But Parnell may not be out of it just yet. There's still a significant amount of undecided voters out there who just may end up turning the tide in favor of Parnell.